Hey, what's going on YouTube? Today we've got something fun in store for you. This package comes from a customer who wants me to rebuild his favorite EDC notebook cover. And it's a little jotter, and so let's take a look at this and get our first impressions of it. Okay, wow. So first off, this thing is very well used. Okay, so let's have a look around it here. You've got a spot for a pin here. He actually sent his very well used Fisher space pen. It appears as though it started out as a black space pen, and it is now, it's got the brass showing through. I mean, that's actually very nice. To keep a pen that long, that's fantastic. Okay, so we've got the pen holder here on the side, and it's barely hanging on. It is I would say it was originally a 1-inch pen loop. Not too bad. You've got this cover here that is okay. So he sent a note along with it. Here is the jotter. Please plan on 3 of these. Okay. So he wants 3 of these. And you can see just how torn this thing is. And that's going to happen. I don't know for sure if this is leather or real leather or not. I don't think it is. It's got this cloth backing to try to make it thinner, so you really don't get very much leather at all in it. I'm wondering, let's see here. I'm wondering if these were originally, it's hard to tell if these were originally, because that's folded down. I can't tell if that was sewn on there or if that was originally a card pocket in the front. That could have been a card pocket. Maybe. It's hard to say. This on the inside, yeah, this inside probably was a card pocket also, I believe. Yeah, because it's got the stitching here. You can see the stitching on the inside of the top band. That means this flap wasn't sewn together. Okay, so there's a card pocket there. And I believe, I can't tell because this looks like this was never sewn. It was glued, this piece here. And so I can't tell if maybe that was I can't tell. So I'm not going to make a front pocket because that just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. No pocket on the back. So you've got the card pocket at the top. You've got the notebook pocket. There we go, the notebook pocket at the bottom. Looks like the pocket at the top, pocket at the bottom were identical when they started out. So let's get some measurements to see. This kind of wear you'll see happen a lot with for 2 reasons. One, or actually 3 reasons. One, he's carried this thing a very long time. So don't mistake that at all. He's probably carried this thing for 5 or 7 years, I would say. I'm just guessing. He hasn't told me that. Second is when you have cheap or not real leather. This could possibly be real leather. I can't really tell. It's so old and worn. And third, machine stitching on the side. You can see that this is, let me see if I can get a good example of it. It's hard to even find a good example. Maybe right here in the top, this little flap here, you can see this is all sewing machine stitched. And it's really thin thread. I mean, super thin. Here's a piece. Let me cut this piece off. So here's a piece of how thin the thread is. I don't know if you can see that. I mean, it is. Let me put it in my hand. See how thin that is? That's what you get with a sewing machine, as opposed to let me get a piece of my thread, my hand stitching thread. You can see the difference in, so you get, which one would you pick? You know, which one's going to be the strongest? So always go with hand stitching if you can possibly do it. Okay, so let's get some initial measurements on this thing. This is going to be a fun project, guys. I'm going to try to record some of it for you as I'm building it. But let's see if we can take this well-used and well-trusted EDC Jotter and create him a new one that he's going to love just as much. Hey guys, I thought I would speed the video up a little bit and just talk through these sections. Right now I'm just roughly cutting out the size of the main body. And the first thing to do once you have that cut is to make sure you're starting with a squared edge. Once your edge is squared, you get the length, and then you can square off the other edge. So now we're working on the width of the main body of the Jotter. And with just one cut like that, now we have the main body cut out. As you can see, the pockets are already cut, and I'm test fitting the Jotter pad now, matching up the other pocket. And now we're going to cut us a rounded slot to make accessing the cards easier. I'm sanding off the edges to make them a little smoother and get them ready for edge treatment. And now we're applying some black dye just to give those edges that nice finished look. This is Tocanoli. It slicks the edges and the fibers down and gives them that nice shine. I'm using a canvas cloth now just to give it that little bit of an extra shine. I'm going to slow it back down right now so you guys can get a look at a little bit of the process here. Just again adding that Tocanol and using the wooden slicker right now just to kind of get the finishing touches on the edge. Okay, gluing is pretty straightforward. I like to test fit the pieces on the main body and use a pin to mark the height of each of the pieces. Once you have that established, you use a roughing tool and rough up the edges, which helps make the glue stick a little bit better. Just gives it just that little bit more of a hold. Once you apply the glue to both sides, I like to use a square to make sure I am putting the piece on exactly at the end of the main body. Trim up the edges a little bit if there's any overhang, and then repeat the process with the other piece. After I fit the piece on, I like to use the maul or any other heavy tool to just tap it down a little bit. This is contact cement, so the more contact it gets, the better it sticks. Okay, now it's time to round up the edges just to give that nice round corners to the entire body. Makes it cleaner, looks much nicer. Now it's time to punch the stitching holes. First, we use a tool to mark 1/8 of an inch all the way around, and then we can use our pricking irons to punch the holes. You can see I'm punching the holes here. These are 5mm holes, 5mm spacing, and you just work your way all around the guidelines that you put down. Leather is such a thick material that you can't just stitch without having pre-punched holes. So this just keeps it neater and helps it to go a lot quicker. Okay, now we need to do the same steps for the pin loop. First we need to get our measurements correct. Here you can see me using the pin and wrapping the leather around the pin just to make sure that I make the pin loop large enough to hold the pin. And now we're cutting it out to the exact size. Once we have that, we've got to do just like we did for the pockets and finish the edges before we add it to the body of the jotter. Once the edges are finished, we need to get our holes punched just like we did for the main body. And because I'm using the same 5mm pricking irons, the holes will line up with the main body, no problem. Here I'm test fitting it to see where I want it on the body, marking where it goes so I can use the rougher and rough out where I'm going to glue it on at. Before I can glue it though, I need to finish that specific section of the edge because the pin holder will be covering that. So at the end of the build, I won't be able to finish the edge for that section. So I need to do that right now. So that 2-inch spot, I went ahead and just went and finished the edge for that. Now it's time to glue it on. I'm marking out where it goes. I'll use the rougher here, get the edges roughed up some, get the glue, and apply to the pin holder and the body. I'm using needles here to guide it to the right positions. Again, tapping it down to give it that extra contact. And same thing for the other side here. Once I have it down, I'll use this binder clip to hold it in place, and we'll move on to the next step, which is stitching. The first step in stitching is to measure out how much thread you're going to need for the project. So I'm using this tan thread today, and what you do is you take your thread and you go around the edge where you're going to be stitching, and you do 4 times that amount of thread. So you can see I measured it out, and now I'm taking 4 times and maybe a little bit more, just because you don't want to get to the end and be just a few holes short and run out of thread. So once we've got 4 times the amount of thread that it takes to go around the edge there, we're going to thread our needles. And I use a very simple needle threading technique. Through the eye, and you push it through the thread, pull it down, and now your needle is on. Some people do that method twice just to be sure, but I find that for most of my projects, just once over the needle is fine. The stitching technique that I always use is the saddle stitch, which is a super easy technique, and I'll show you now. For these kind of projects, I always start the hole below, which is the top hole on the pocket, and I go 1 stitch above the pocket and then back down to the starting hole. This gives you a double stitch at the edge of the pocket where there's going to be the most force being applied to the leather. So I always like to reinforce that top hole to make sure that because of that stress point, you've got double stitching. Okay, we go back down, and this will be our double stitch to the top. And you can see here how easy saddle stitching is. So basically 1 stitch to the front, and then using the same hole, you bring the thread back through the same exact hole, basically creating a figure 8 with your thread. Super strong stitch, very simple to do, and it looks really nice. All right, we're almost done. It's just time to finish the edges. I sanded the edges down off camera because it makes a big mess. And here you see me just trimming off the leather where it rolls up as you're sanding it. Next, we'll apply our dye to the edges to give it that nice finished look. And same steps as we used on the pockets. Now that we've got the edges dyed, we'll get them burnished with some tokonal, and then we'll use our canvas cloth and we'll slick them down real nice. And we'll have a finished product. Okay folks, we just finished up this rebuild of this little Jotter notebook that my customer carries as his EDC notebook. Again, here's one final look at what he sent me, the state of his current one. I mean, he got his use out of this one. And then here, let's take a look at this new one. Okay. So I did make the pen holder just a little large, so on the next two models, he wanted 3 of them. I'm going to make it smaller, but this will definitely hold the space pen, no trouble. But it looks like it could also hold a Kaweco Sport as well, and that would probably be really nice, a complement to this little Jotter. The inside, you can see here the notebook fits in there perfectly. You got your card pocket, which I did cut a slot out so you could easily get your cards in and out a little better. A simple little Boss logo on the back, nothing fancy, just a little Boss logo. And that's it. I mean, I think that this one here will last him way longer than this one. Again, this one had very little leather in it. I mean, this is a little very thin piece of leather. Let me show you the difference in thickness. I mean, you can see there. I mean, it's basically non-existent. It's basically like the layer on top of the leather and nothing else. So they like to pack a lot of these with this little cloth material instead of actual leather. So this is 100% leather. This will last 10 times longer than that one, and if that's the case, then it'll probably last him forever. So hope you enjoyed this video, guys. This is just a quick look at this little Jotter, and we'll see you on the next video.